Welcome back to another week of Respect the Process. I am Kelly Hunter, joined by the voice of Alabama Crimson Tide Athletics, Chris Stewart.
Ma'am.
And everyone is in a good mood this week.
Everybody's in a lot better mood than 7 days ago. There's no question. Yeah, it was a good win. Played well.
Nobody really got hurt.
Yeah, from what we've heard so far, so hopefully a chance to heal up, rest up, get better, because you got a tough stretch, but obviously it starts with a great game against LSU.
What was different? I mean, just from the start, we didn't necessarily feel, because the offense was turned back on a couple drives. Was it the defense that sparked the offense, or did the offense just need to get going?
I think it helped. I think it did help to have the defense kind of, but I thought they both, I heard Tyler and Damian Square both talk about complementary football a lot on our broadcast, where one side's doing their job, the other side follows suit. And I think that did play a big role. They kind of fed off each other. It was good to get some points early. It was good to put up some zeros early. Let's be fair and honest and accurate. Mizzou was not at full strength. Mizzou was, just like Alabama's not playing as well as they were going into the Vandy game when they were ranked number 1 in the country. Mizzou's not playing as well as they were going into that when they were ranked 7th in the nation at the time. That being said, two dangerous teams, and Alabama played better and looked really solid, and to go through the entire game and not give up points. For a team that has had its issues on defense this year, based on what the standard is, it was really nice to see them throw a 0 up there and get things done.
Well, I mean, we could see that, and Coach even alluded to it after the game, the 0 was important to them. I mean, that was something that, obviously, you saw when you see your defensive coordinator and his dad kind of having to hold him back off the field at that point. That's something you hang your hat on against a conference team.
You're right. It was a conference team. And I said on the broadcast, because we got excited, because the team was excited. The stadium was excited. There have been far more important, meaningful, historic goal line stands in Alabama football history. But for this team right now, with where they are, that was meaningful. And you hope it's something you have no way of knowing until we get to what's next. But you hope that it's truly something they build off of as they go into this back stretch, and most importantly, what's first on the agenda, and that's LSU.
What do you get the sense of for Alabama fans heading into these last 3 games? Is it, okay, we got the ship pointed in the right direction? Is it like
I think there's some wait and see. Yeah, I think there's some wait and see, but I think there's more. Look, we know how we all are. We all tend to have a knee-jerk reaction. It used to be the Monday morning water cooler at work.
Because leading into Mizzou, people were like, we could lose this game.
Absolutely.
And then I think everybody was very pleasantly surprised.
The old days, it was, can't wait to get to school on Monday, talk with my buddies about it, can't get to work, and let's talk around the water cooler. Well, now with how instantaneous the reaction is, and with social media, the plays aren't even over with before people are commenting. The water cooler is constant now and continuous. So I think you tend to go off the edge quicker, but I think you tend to come off of the ledge a little bit sooner as well. So I think right now you go, okay, we're disappointed. It's not where we intended to be. Man, if we just take care of Vanderbilt, we're sitting there undefeated with Texas A&M, feeling as though we're better than A&M. We're ranked higher than A&M, because we would be if we're undefeated. Looks like A&M possibly in the SEC championship game, but we're trending the right direction. The toughest part of the schedule you would feel like would be past you, other than LSU. And instead, LSU is sitting there with 1 loss ahead of you, the same for Tennessee, and they got a tiebreaker. Texas, Georgia, all with 1 loss. with an A&M squad that's undefeated, and you are one of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Oh, we're going to get to
two
that.
lost teams.
Don't worry, because I've got.
I'm just saying
I
you're.
know. I've got a big presentation on this.
I look forward to it. But my point is, instead of being one of 2 that's undefeated, you're one of 6 that has 2 losses, and you can slide to the bottom half very quick, or you can suddenly play yourself into the conversation for Atlanta as you head into the final 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Because you have a couple opportunities that you spend time with Coach DeBoer doing his show. You do the radio stuff. Like last week at Hey Coach. I mean, he is still himself.
Right.
I know he believes in his system. You don't get to this level of coaching without doing it. But I mean, obviously the fan support is still there and is still
absolutely, and it would be foolish not to. It would be understandable for disappointment, frustration, shock even, because it's not what we're accustomed to. As I talked about it, I think last week or 2 weeks ago, with this win, would you say it's fair to say that Alabama is still, as of today, in the national championship conversation? In the conversation.
That's what we're going to talk about, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
That being said, this marks now 17 consecutive seasons
right.
that Alabama goes into the month of November in the mix for a national championship.
This is as good a time as any. I've got. You know how you always had to have visual aids for your reports, and so I did 2 visual aids.
Let's go.
First,
look at
Kelly's
you. Look at
big
you.
board. Kelly's big board.
Oh, I'm so impressed. I'm so impressed.
Do you know what's so sad is I tried to do handwriting, and as my
It
mom
was
always
so
said,
bad.
my handwriting was so bad I had to go and print out numbers to put over this. So I've got Kelly's big board
so proud
here.
of you. This would be for a sports school project.
This is.
This would be
I put
really
more
good.
time into this than probably any project I ever did for school.
I'm really,
And
really.
I still have, and I have a college.
You wouldn't be having to work with me right now.
Gosh. Okay, so here's what I'm saying. We've got 9 and I even made space. That's the other thing.
I'm so impressed.
Comedian John Mulaney always talks about how when you make a happy birthday post, you do big H.
Yeah.
And then by a Y, you're like, the Y is like over here. So I had, so I put in, here are our top 9 teams in the conference.
All right.
We're not going to get 9 teams in to the 12-team playoff.
No.
Not even. And so when you look where Alabama is, where they sit, the problem, I think, when we look at it is they don't control their own destiny anymore. An LSU win's going to help them, but they're ranked 16th.
Yeah.
So they're ranked behind Alabama now. But they sit, y'all have no idea. Y'all have
so
no
proud of
idea
you.
the pride
You should.
that I have on this. Kelly's big board.
Yeah.
So my point is, we have A&M up here and it is kind of, I don't know that people would be surprised if you looked at this as we enter November, where you see A&M as the team coming out on top right now. Would you have been surprised at the start of the season?
Shocked, just because A&M normally finds a way to not be in the mix.
Right. Georgia, I don't think anyone is surprised.
Not at all.
The one loss, possibly. Texas, no.
Because they probably would have said Tuscaloosa or Austin.
Right.
And they went 1-1 in those 2 games. That's not bad,
No.
and they're still right there where they would want to be, number 2 in the country.
Tennessee's up. I think people may have been surprised. They're a little ahead of schedule.
I think they're surprised they lost at Arkansas, and not at all shocked they beat Alabama, but history recently, 2 decades, says probably going to lose.
And what's it? When you look at these teams, all of them have at least one loss that they're probably surprised with. And it may not be the loss it wasn't the loss necessarily they thought they were going to get, but it was the loss they had.
Yeah.
And then you get down to LSU, then you get down to Alabama. An unranked Arkansas is ahead of a ranked Mizzou and a ranked Ole Miss.
Look, here. As I look at those.
Where do you see the Mendoza line here?
I think 4 are going to get in.
Top 4 for sure.
I think the top 4 are going to get in. I do agree with the assessment from most
Gotcha.
that LSU-Bama is the playoff elimination game.
Yeah.
whoever's sitting there with 3 losses overall, of those 2 and with head-to-head, not that the winner is guaranteed to be in, but I do think the loser is out.
Okay. I agree.
Okay.
I think 3 losses.
I think Alabama. All right. Tennessee still has Georgia and Vandy left, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
I just wonder, with a win over LSU and it being
On the road.
Alabama,
Yeah.
is that enough with name and a win over LSU to vault them in?
I don't know that it does over Tennessee because of the head-to-head.
Mm-hmm.
If Tennessee's only got 1 loss. If they
Okay.
both have 2, that's a question mark. If you are pulling big time for Georgia over Tennessee,
Mm-hmm.
I know that if you're a Bama fan. Although, here's
Georgia
the
loss
caveat. A Georgia loss,
puts them at 2 losses head-to-head
and you've
with
got
Alabama.
the head-to-head with Bama.
It's going to be interesting. I think, if nothing else, this season has shown chaos is in the mix.
Here's the thing. 2-loss Texas is going to get in over Alabama, LSU, or Tennessee.
Agreed.
Because their 2 losses would have been to likely
Georgia
and Texas A&M.
Yeah.
I don't know. Again,
Okay.
this is the fun stuff to do in a bye week.
I know.
That's impressive. By the way, you would have definitely gotten
Yeah.
100 on the
Yeah,
art
hold on,
project.
hold on.
Oh, you mean there's more?
Because I had extra time.
Oh,
I
my
know.
goodness.
We got a bonus. We have Kelly's little board.
Leave that alone. Leave that
No.
alone.
Okay, so the point on the little board here. Does anyone have a chance?
In a playoff? Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. Okay.
But can they mess it up for
Sure.
others? Absolutely they
Kelly's little
can.
board. Most
Oklahoma
surprising.
scares me.
Most surprising
It's
that's on
it's
the
got to
little
be
board.
Vandy.
Okay.
Of how good they are or how
Yeah.
bad they are.
Okay, let's do most surprising of how bad they are this year. And this
It
is the
shouldn't
lower
surprise
6.
me.
This if I'm weathering it, this is the lower 6.
I'd go Oklahoma just because we're never used to seeing Oklahoma there.
1-4 in conference play.
Yeah.
That's what
Welcome to the SEC.
I know. Poor state.
I'm not, but nobody's shocked by
Well, I
that.
know, but-
First year head coach.
Yeah, but 1-7.
Competitive. Yeah, I know.
tough. That's tough.
It is tough. Kentucky, yeah, because they were talking positive and Kentucky on the uptick, which that's what Kentucky does. Here's the crazy thing. Billy may keep his job.
I know.
If as long as he gets to a bowl game, he might just keep his job. And if he gets to 7, he's in a great spot. If he only gets 5, he's sweating big time. Vanderbilt is, to me, all right, we know they've got Tennessee left.
Yeah. They were a play away from they were a play or possession away from
Already being bowl
Yeah.
eligible. And you're right. They would still be 2-2 in the league, but they'd be 6-2 overall. Vandy still factors in, not for them getting into the SEC championship game or the playoff, but with, I know Tennessee to come, and I don't know who else they've got. I know somebody's
Yeah.
watching this now,
I
and
know,
I'll
they're-
watch
they're
it
watching.
later.
I
and
didn't have
go.
time to do.
You can't do all of my homework.
Damn coaster boards. In
There you
one
go.
week. Actually, in one day. That tells you that for all
I get it.
procrastinators out there, getting a job in media is the best job to have because it forces you to do a job.
Here's what I'll tell you on Vanderbilt. Vandy still has Auburn. They have South Carolina. They have LSU and Tennessee. Vandy's going to be involved in a lot of conversations.
Agreed.
Because if you're Hugh Freeze or Shane Beamer and you finish below 500 and one of those losses is to Vandy, your people ain't going to be happy. Same time, Vandy, based on what we have seen, when at their best, and they were real close to their best against Texas. They beat Alabama. They probably should have beat Missouri, or could have. They did beat Virginia Tech. As stupid as it sounds, Vandy absolutely could win all 4 of their remote. Now, they ain't going to win in Baton Rouge. They're not going to beat LSU in Baton Rouge. They could go 3-1.
Okay.
Could.
Yeah.
They could go 0-4. It's Vandy.
Yeah.
But Vandy will factor into some things.
And that's, I think for Tide fans, they are used to betting on themselves.
No doubt.
Especially down the stretch.
We're not used to this.
We need to win this game. We need to win this game. It's not, we need X, Y, and Z to happen in order for us. Because at this point now, we know that Alabama has LSU, Mercer, and Auburn. Now, I did just see on ESPN that they were saying that Mercer's one of the top 8 FCS teams. How about that?
Okay. It has mattered, but not when we had the 12. We weren't expecting it with a 12-team scenario. With the 2 or 4 team, there's been lots of times Alabama's needed help because there was only one. You could only have one loss and have a snowball's chance, and you still had to catch a break in order to get in.
And I think any Tide fan, regardless of their feeling throughout the season, if you don't make the 12-team playoff this season, is not a success, regardless of if you are a bowl eligible.
I would agree for most SEC teams. For the ones we expected.
Yeah. I think going into any season, regardless of it, even with a new coach, because of the past 16 years.
Yeah.
That anything
That's
is
fair.
because we have seen a coach get them in not only to the top 4, but into the top 2 so frequently over a lot of people's lifetime.
Yeah.
That anything less than this season it's a subpar season.
Right. It would definitely be below the standard.
Talk us through.
You're
Bring
still
us home.
but you're still sitting there with the number 1 recruiting class in America for next year.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have a lot of weapons and options available to you that will. Here's the wild card, the portal.
Come on.
You don't know what the portal's going to look like.
No.
Now, Bama will be in a spot where they can play free agency, and that's what you have now in college football.
Yeah, they can be buyers instead of sellers.
Exactly right. They will be able to pick their pieces, like we're talking about with the Bama defense. You had 8 new players, you lost 8 starters off of last year's defense. Some with the draft, some with the portal. You knew you were going to lose Kool-Aid and Terry and Arnold. But if you had Caleb Downs back there on the, at safety, you think the secondary would have looked different earlier, would look different right now.
But we've seen him grow up, particularly this past weekend. Yeah.
But my point is, you don't know what the portal's going to do to you, and you don't know pro or con, and graduation / going into the draft.
Yeah.
So, but in theory, based on what the signing class is, you should be very much in the mix without as many starters to replace on the defensive side and a full year of the scheme in-house, regardless of who the quarterback is, regardless of who the running backs are. And I would think at least one, if not both, running backs that are starters now are going to be back next year. With that being the case, you would think you're a whole lot better 12 months from now. I hadn't looked at the schedule.
No.
Don't know.
It's going to be interesting.
I'll take my chances.
Particularly after the LSU game. And obviously, we have seen that the top 10, top 12, top 15 has been very fluid this year, each week. If Alabama cracks into the top 12, and obviously just because they're in the top 12 doesn't mean that they're going to the top 12.
It helps.
Yeah, it helps, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be in the playoff.
Right.
It's going to be interesting to see if Alabama and the other teams, be it other teams, that don't make the playoff, even though they are ranked.
We don't know what this is going to look like, and we're not going to know for about 10 years from now.
Well,
because
we've got real sample. Top 64, and it's going to be.
Well, that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
Is we don't have enough of a sample size yet, and we know it's going to change. Whatever it changes to, we know it's going to change by then.
It's going to be interesting. LSU also has a bye week this week, and they are coming off I don't know if you had a chance to watch that game Saturday night.
Some.
With all of a sudden that game turning on a dime when Texas A&M put in Marcel Reed.
Yeah.
And I mean, you could see it on Chip Kelly's face. He was just dying. It's Brian Kelly's face, just dying a slow death there on the sideline.
He was not a happy man.
No, he wasn't. But LSU with an off week, getting ready for the bye week, and then getting ready to go to Baton Rouge. And it's also crazy to think that this coming Monday we start basketball season. Officially start basketball season.
Excited
Our next
about
round
it.
guys did a great job up in Huntsville.
They absolutely did, and that's part of the reason why I ended up staying to watch it at home. I knew they were going to be doing that for ESPN Plus. I was not feeling great. I'd planned on going the whole day and then wasn't feeling too well after lunch, and so I decided to just sit in my recliner and watch and listen to them, and they did a great job as they always do. And it was, hope you like free throws because you got to see a bunch of them. Not faulting anybody for it. I love the fact that the coaches got together with the officials and said, hey, we're not fouling anybody out. Nobody's going to be disqualified because of fouls. This is an exhibition. But I'll tell you what, I'm also glad that they did call the number of fouls they did because it was an exhibition game. If those are going to be fouls in the season itself, they gotta know now.
Where are the guardrails? What
100%.
What can we do?
That's what these games are supposed to be, to figure out what you got to work on. Defending without fouling both sides, that's a key. And those were all veteran officials that were working the game. So what you saw there is what will be called. Now, you won't have that many fouls. You won't have that many free throws because we'll have a 3-on-3 game by the time it's over with. If you do that, guys are going to foul out pretty severely. But that being said, Alabama's playing right now without 3 guys that potentially would be starters if they were healthy. And they're still looking about as good as advertised so far.
Yeah.
Again, exhibition games, but high-quality talent that they're facing in Wake Forest and Memphis. And they win. They had it almost to 30 or did have it up 30 at one point against Wake Forest. That was a tighter game against Memphis, but I don't think Bama was ever in danger of losing the game, or you never felt like they were going to lose the lead. And it's a talented Memphis team, although not a top 25 team in the preseason. So it gave Nate plenty to chew on and work on, and yet also see, and there's enough for Bama fans to see to be justified in their excitement about the year.
They open up against UNC Asheville at 8 o'clock on Monday night. Preseason number 2, which means you're not going to sneak up on anyone.
Sure.
Finished in the Final Four last year.
Correct.
Have you gotten your ring yet?
You know what?
You usually wear a good ring for it. That's why I was just wondering if you've gotten your ring yet.
I will.
Or when they'll
I'm
get them
told
out.
that it has arrived.
Okay.
And I need to go by and pick it up.
I mean,
there's not a ceremony for it. But anyway, I'm supposed to be picking up my ring.
Did they get a ceremony for it? Will they get their rings?
They already have. They did that the night of the what used to be kind of like March Madness.
Yeah.
They did the Tide tip-off event.
Okay.
The Friday night before the South Carolina game. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we did that. It was a 3-point slam dunk contest, a scrimmage, but also the banner reveal, and the players got their rings. Okay. Players and coaches got their rings.
Any timetable on health for guys coming back?
I would think that Chris Youngblood would not be as soon as the others. Lower leg, fill in your own blank there. For Latrell Reitzel.
Just curious.
Yeah, and I'm trying to remember the other one.
Got a couple of soft games here to open the season, but it does ramp up rather quickly by the time
you're right.
And
I'm not disagreeing with your statement, but here's why the schedule is so good. you say soft games, and these mid-majors that they're playing are all picked to finish first or second in their league.
Yeah.
So while granted, they're not playing Duke or North Carolina, Asheville's still really good. Arkansas State, got to the finals of their conference tournament last year, and that's a game where you're playing a former assistant, Brian Hodgson,
Red Wolves,
helping him, the Red Wolves there. So they're going to be tested every night. It's not, if they win big against anybody, they will have done something. Some are obviously sexier than others, going to North Carolina, playing Houston in Las Vegas before you play two more high-end opponents the rest of the way. They're going to be meaningful. But even the ones that don't have maybe the glitz and the glamour to them are still expected to be, McNeese with Will Wade. That's a team that's expected to be right there in the mix in their league.
Well, you open every season, obviously, with high hopes and optimism, but with a preseason number 2, is the championship game, because they were within one of that, is that the goal for this year? Is this a
No
team
doubt.
built?
There's no doubt. That's the goal. Here's the thing. It should be the goal. It very, very well could be the destination. It's so stinking tough to win the whole thing, because to me, the regular season and the tournament, or the postseason period, are such different animals.
Oh,
I mean, think about where this team was last year. 2 weeks to go in the season, a week and a half to go in the regular season. They're playing Tennessee on college game, after college game day was in Tuscaloosa. Primetime game. The winner is going to be have the front row in the chase for the SEC title. Bama lost. Tennessee won it. Tennessee got the SEC regular season championship ring. Bama then goes one and done in the SEC tournament. So they had dropped 3 of their last 4.
right.
And what follows? They win 4 consecutive games to get to the Sweet 16. Excuse me, to the Final Four. So here they are. You can do what did Auburn? I'm trying to remember. Did Auburn win the tournament, the SEC tournament last year? May have. Anyway, Auburn was playing well.
I've got verification.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, fact check.
Tennessee wins the regular season. Auburn wins the conference tournament. I don't remember what happened to Tennessee. I know they weren't in the Final Four. I know Auburn lost in the first game of the tournament because they played directly in front of us in Spokane. So it's a whole separate thing. Auburn had all the momentum going into that. Gets beat, loses to Yale in the tournament. Had an ejection early in the game. Got rattled a little bit by that. Didn't get it done. They're out. Alabama, low expectation, and they wind up
That's my specialty.
almost winning the whole thing.
Real quick before we go, also, you mentioned it when we were off the air, but I know you had a chance to MC the Bryant Awards Society.
Yeah, the Bryant Society.
Regatta Gala on Friday night. And you had a chance to talk to Miss Terry Saban.
I did.
And she reported that.
It was just
I know, a quick conversation.
But it was one of the rare times you get a chance to talk to Miss Terry when there's not a big group of people around. And I did. I said, "Are you enjoying yourselves as much as you appear to?" And she goes, "We really are."
Good.
And that was what I wanted to hear. And we talked about some other things, but that was the biggest thing that I was so glad to hear, is that it has been for them so far in retirement what you would hope it would be for somebody who's done as much for so many people as they have. He's still doing something that's very relevant. He's getting to do something that allows him to have a voice truly in the game itself, and much like Kirk Herbstreit has done for years, you have a chance to influence the narrative about the direction of the game. Mm-hmm. He gets to still be there. Look, I watched him on game day on Saturday morning, and then I shook his hand in the hallway
Boom.
going into the press box.
That's always impressive to me. I'm like, he was
private jets are a great thing.
Golly.
But
It's not the same
he
as
was there,
commercial.
able to be a fan and enjoy the game. And he and Miss Terry were inducted into the Bryant Society for financial contributions that they have made. And obviously their contribution goes so far beyond a bank account, but that is extremely meaningful and important, especially in this day and age for college athletics. But he wasn't there for the induction the night before because he had that day job where he had to work on Saturday. But he did get there for the game, and that was great to see. And I'm just glad, Coach Bryant never got that.
Right.
And Coach Bryant predicted it. They had asked him a couple of years earlier about it, and he had the famous quote, retire. If I did, I'd croak in a month. Sadly, he did. He passed away 1 month, within a month of when he retired.
Yeah.
Coached his last football game. It's wonderful to see that Coach and Miss Terry are able to enjoy family. They're able to still be involved in the game. They are still very much involved with Alabama football, supporting it, being fans, and that's what they've earned.
Absolutely.
That's what they've earned.
Okay, we'll let it. Some people.
Off weekend.
Yeah, I know. Okay.
Go enjoy
Big
yourself.
plans?
Losing on the golf course to my son as many times as I can.
There we go. And if you're looking for more of Chris Stewart, because who isn't, you can always either find him on the golf course or at chrisstewart.online. Thank you to Scott Forrester for always reserving judgment against us, and for Tim Melton for talking to me even on his day off. You can always find everything you need on Cover Crimson, as well as Next Round Live, Disrupt the Media. And of course, we'll be back here next week. I'm Kelly Hunter, Chris Stewart, voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Even on an off week, roll Tide.
See y'all next week. Take care.